All right, hello. We want to discuss and answer the question for you. Are bullmastiffs good with children? Do bullmastiffs bite? I've seen on the internet sometimes it says, oh, they'll just hold someone down, they don't bite. So I want to introduce
There's a difference between biting and mauling.
Yes. So spoken so well by my friend Erin Mitchell from Nebraska, Sand Hill Bullmastiffs. You can find her on Facebook. And she's had, how many years have you been in this? I know more than 7. But she was a vet tech for years. And can I tell them she was Miss Rodeo, Nebraska? I'm sorry, I'm so impressed. You got to set a horse very well to be the queen of Nebraska. A lot of horse country up there. Anyway, so we want to talk about that. And I have someone over here. Oh, I've got Taffy in the pen who's crying. So let's just, I'll walk over here and let her out. Are bullmastiffs good with children?
Bullmastiffs can be excellent with children. However, there's a lot of preparation that needs to be done with your dog and with your children. It really is a matter of mutual respect and tolerance. And it's really hard to say. I mean, we could say that bullmastiffs in general typically are good with children. However, every animal, every person is an individual when it comes to personality, how they process things, how they interpret things, and how they react to things.
That's good. So I want you to write down there, trigger, because we want to talk about a trigger. Because the times I have been attacked by bullmastiffs, each one of them had a trigger that I did not know about, and I pushed the trigger, and I didn't know.
Now, were these dogs that you raised?
No.
So how did you come into contact with these dogs?
Both dogs were at my house. One girl was a mature girl, and I actually whelped a litter for a fellow breeder because he was unable to do it. And I did not know that this dog had this trigger, and I touched her trigger, and she turned into Cujo and came after me. And then I found out later, the guy that owned her said, oh yeah, I used to do that to her to get her off the couch.
Oh.
Yeah. And so when I did it, she went from loving, dependable, and I say this, if you've raised your dog and they're loyal and loving, they're not going to turn on you. That is not correct. That's not typical. Don't be afraid that your dog's going to turn on you. So, anyway, the Lord was definitely with me, and I was out doing chores, and I had on this long floppy shirt of my husband's, and instinctively I just raised, when she was in the air, I raised my left arm, and only one fang went into me. And this must have been God. I don't know why I reacted this way. Instead of being afraid, I got mad. I got furious. And I had this thing in my hand, and I just went after her, and she backed down.
I think that reaction is the difference between being an alpha within your pack versus a fellow pack member.
That she backed down?
That you reacted, instead of backing off out of fear, you said, absolutely not. This is not how this goes. You back off.
Yeah.
That is where...
Yeah, it was odd because it was so surreal. Not that I want to spend our time talking about this attack.
Right.
But as she's coming through the air, I was like, oh Lord, I need your help. In the 3 seconds before, I just instinctively, and if she would have got a full hold of my arm and not got into that loose sleeve, if she had been down on my arm, I don't know what I'd have done. But I did have a stick of a sword in this right hand, and that's what I went after her with. Mm-hmm. And she did back down.
Mm-hmm.
And dogs are pack animals, and they instinctively know the structure of the pack.
Yes.
And so she realized that wasn't acceptable.
And I think that that's, we should back up just a little step and say, which I know you have mentioned this many times in many of your videos. If people listening are followers of your page, this is something that you have talked on over and over and over and over. But your dog, while a member of the family, they are and should always be submissive to you. That should include, if you're a married couple, that should include the mom and the dad. Now, you can't expect that they are going to be submissive to your children.
Right.
Because that goes outside of the natural law to them. But you can demand that your dogs respect your children when your children are treating and acting the dogs with respect as well.
Right. So let's just go there, because this is one thing that I say until I'm blue in the face. When you get cute 8-week-old puppy or 9-week-old puppy or 10-week-old puppy home into your new home, well, the first few days the puppy's like, oh. Then the puppy says, I'm a pack member. I have to know who is the strongest, the smartest, the bravest in this pack, because my life depends on it. You're just having fun, but I need to know. So what does the puppy do? The puppy pushes. The puppy wants to put his foot on you. Don't let the puppy put their feet on you, because that's an act of dominance. And that's what he's trying to do. He's pushing against you. Well, he soon figures out the 6-year-old certainly isn't going to protect him, the puppy. The 6-year-old's unable to protect the puppy's life or the pack. It's not going to happen. They have to know. And sometimes the puppy everyone in the house is not worthy. And that leaves the puppy in a very insecure position, and you have a myriad of problems. So just take it from there about some of the problems you're going to have.
Well, so if your puppy or adult dog, because there are a lot of people who will adopt,
That's true.
whether it's a teenage puppy, young adult, or an aged adult. Look at our retired females.
Yes,
when
retired females.
When they are coming into a new home, it's not as if they don't already know what a home structure is, but then you have to work to develop that relationship with them also. But so if you establish yourself as the alpha over your dog, then they never have the need or feel the need to step up to the plate to protect themselves. Vulnerability is just not something that is in their concern. And so when we remove all doubt from their mind as to why, and I think that that's why in my home, all of my dogs, male and female, they cohabitate. But everything amongst them, I set up as equal and fair. They don't, everybody knows that they have their own food bowl, and they respect each other's space of their food bowl. Everybody knows that they get an equal opportunity at treats and equal opportunity at bones, and they never have to defend themselves from each other or from anything else, because I establish the packing order.
Right.
And so I don't know if that really has addressed where our problems can arise that you wanted me to address.
I have been in your home and I have seen 6-7 dogs out together. 9. Okay, so this was you can go back and watch. We did a video a year ago in September. We were out there.
Yes.
A year ago in September. The dogs do not feel the need to challenge each other for your attention,
right,
or fight over the resource of Erin's
right,
attention,
right,
because she has established there will be no fighting.
Right.
I mean, there will be no fighting.
It is not tolerated. I don't even tolerate somebody actually asked me on one of my Facebook posts, and I have not taken the time to go back and give a full response. But one of the question was, how do you know the difference between their play and being serious? You know, because our big dogs, our adults, you know, they'll wrestle and play, and they're very physical, and they'll jump in the air.
Yes.
You know,
hit each other like linebackers.
yes, body slam. I mean, they're very physical. But as the mom, the mean mom, you know,
I mean it, mom.
They can be in times when there's play, and especially if there's more than one. You know, sometimes there will be two that you know, they're going more towards one rather than a fair three-way fight, right? And so, but I can hear a difference as soon as there's a change in the tone of their voice. It's just like your children having an argument down the hallway. You can hear a change, and if I experience that, all I have to do is raise my voice to get their attention, and that's the end of that. Because I'm a mean mom, and I've established that this is not acceptable.
Right. Meaning I mean it. If I say you better stop it, the next is going to be consequences. It's not going to be threats.
No. I will ask once, and then when I tell, and following the tell, it's a fast response, or then there's immediate reinforcement. Right. So, physical reinforcement by me.
So then I know that perhaps all of you all are not even wondering about pack structure, and I'm but it's essential because our dog are pack animals. So let's talk about that. What does that look like? And I anyway, the world is a bit crazy. When I was in California, my girlfriend had twins, and we were doing a yard sale, and her 3-year-old was running into the street, and she was not containing them, even though there was on a cul-de-sac. Well, I just grabbed me a little switch off a tree, and I went out into the street, and I just switched their little legs back up to the house, and I said, we will, and they were crying. I said, no, we will sit at this house. You will not go out in the street. And she said, you can't do that. They could take my children away from me. I said, what? What are you talking about? She said, yes. In California, they can take your children away if you spank them. I said, well, no wonder the world's gone crazy. But those children did not go back out into the street. And after that, I stayed for a few more days. When Aunt Sonia said something, they said, yes, ma'am, how high? And it was when I ran my little horse camp with the people, they had to be at least kindergartners to stay. And the mothers were so concerned. Oh, I'm like, ma'am, I've taught Sunday school for over 20 years. When you leave, your kids are going to be fine. They'll be better. You're the problem. And it was so true. The children were perfect. Until when I established these are the rules and you will follow them, and there's no other option. They were wonderful until the mother came back. And when the mother came back, these children emotionally, they would often cry. And it was this very weird, the mother needed to be needed, the mother would not. Anyway, it's a very weird dynamic, which shocked me because we had such a wonderful day. The kids never cried for their parents. And they would drop them off. I don't remember what time we started. It's been so long ago, before I did dogs, over 20 years ago. They were wonderful the whole day, enthralled with the horses, enthralled. We made a fire and cooked beans and hot dogs. And anyway, worked in our little books and did a craft. And I said all that to say this. A lot of times, all the time, even when I would train horses, it's not the horse. It's the people. It's not the dog. It's the people.
Now, it can develop into being a dog problem when you have not established things. And the most important thing to remember is fair, firm, and consistent. You can't just all of a sudden decide that you're going to expect big changes without being, you have to be fair in your expectation.
That's good. I'm going to write this down so we can see it. Fair, firm, and consistent.
Right. And, you can't always...
How about fair, firm, and frequent?
Well...
I mean, never all start with that.
Yes.
I'm going to write this down.
But, you can't always just ask please.
Exactly.
Please does not always work when there isn't already established manners. Now, once things are established, you can ask them please, and they'll say, oh yes, mommy, I love you, and do it willingly. But if you have something that you are dealing with, sometimes we have to be very firm in how we ask for it or therefore demand it.
Not sure I spelled all that right. Fair, firm, and consistent. Did I spell it right?
It's backwards. I don't. There we go. Yes.
Fair,
Yes,
firm, and
you did.
consistent. Maybe it's backwards for you guys too.
Yeah, I
Is
believe
it
that
that?
it will.
Well, I don't know.
Well, because if your
shouldn't.
camera was going the other way,
Oh,
then it
I
would
see.
be. But right now it's.
Okay, come on, guys.
We could put a mirror and then project it forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair, firm, and consistent. I just like to see things. We on our next one we'll have a board behind us.
Oh, there you
Right
go.
on.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. You broke my train of thought though. So
Oh, I'm
anyways,
so
fair,
sorry.
firm, and consistent.
Okay,
in
so
your expectations.
so I wanted to ask you, because I was totally blown away and impressed. What at 5 months it's going to look different how you correct a 5-month-old
Oh,
as a
definitely.
5. We wouldn't necessarily be correcting a 5-year-old, but so what does that look like? So I said all that. I told you the story about my girlfriend and her children to prep. If you think that you're just going to give your dog a cookie and not ever correct your dog or your child, it doesn't work that way, especially with a bullmastiff. So what does that look like? You're correct, say a 5-month-old. What does a 5-month-old look
Well,
like?
let's preface this a little bit, okay? So you can't tell them to do something if it's not something that, or if it's something that needs to be learned. You can't just tell them, and then when they don't do it, discipline them. Okay.
Right.
For example, you can't tell a 5-month-old puppy to sit, and when it stands there wagging its tail, and you can't just growl at them and say sit, and then just you
Right.
need to make a motion for them to learn what that is. So that's a whole nother subject in teaching these things. But
And positive reinforcement, that we like the dry liver bait, is to get them in that position,
Right.
to tell them this is the right thing. This is what I want from you. The carrot and the stick, it needs to be equal. You can't all carrot and you can't all stick.
okay. But so let's change it. So that you can't, like I said, you can't tell them to do something that's like a training thing. You can't tell them, and then when they don't know what that means, so they don't do it, okay. But how about just respect and behavior, okay? Those are things that we can teach what is not okay, because in their negative behavior moment, we are going to deal with that in the moment. And it has to be done in the moment.
Exactly.
So, for example, what is something that is a very typical response, whether it's your dog or a strange dog, okay? They're like, oh, there's somebody new, and they come running up, and they come running up, and they plant their feet on you, okay? Right, so bad behavior. And so what the easiest thing to start by doing, if you have an instance where that's happening, the best thing that you can do is, as they're coming, you want to be standing here firm, but so they come running up to you, the best thing you can do, goody.
We have dogs. we have dogs down here, but they won't jump on her because they know better.
So the best thing you can do as they're coming is just raise your knee up like this. So then as they come sailing up, what's going to happen? Depending on how big they are, but they're going to hit their solar plexus right against your knee. And they're like, oh man. And then the best thing that you can do is call them right back over again. And as they're coming up to make that jump, you just get back right here. You're not kicking them. It's their motion that is creating that uncomfortable result. And that's the best teaching thing, because gosh, what's something that we can do? You aren't going to keep on shutting your fingers in the drawer intentionally, because you realize that motion makes that really hurt. So that is the best way to combat bad behavior, is making something so that it's their own natural action that makes an uncomfortable result.
Right. And then the other thing, you know, in your puppy packs, you get the Naughty Puppy Eliminator, which is just a squirt bottle, and I fill it with vinegar. So this is what I tell people: if your puppy gets what he does not want from this behavior, i.e. squirt, instead of what he wants from this behavior, chewing, and we do need to give them appropriate things to chew on, but still, they quickly learn, don't chase the cat. Don't chew on, which your puppy shouldn't have access to the furniture. If the puppy's on a leash tied to you, your puppy doesn't have access to the furniture. There are things that you're going to be using. Even at 6 to 8 months, you may be giving them 30 minutes time in the house, not leash to you. So if they go chew, I mean, I paid a lot for my new cabinets, and I do not want dogs chewing on them. So the couch in there, they've chewed, not on my watch, but someone else's watch, they chewed the corner off the couch, which I always thought was leather until they chewed it up. It's fake. Anyway, sold me a fake couch. That's not true, my sister gave it to me. But so the psychology of it is, if they're not getting the reward. And I have seen this, and this is just very poor training. This nowhere in the scripture does it say ignore bad behavior. And I have seen trainers say, if your dog jumps on you, just ignore them. I was like, disagree, strongly disagree. Oh, just turn and ignore them. There is a place with a bull mastiff, you are going to have to correct them, and if you are unwilling or unable emotionally to do that, do not get a bull mastiff.
Right.
And so let's go back to children. Our bull mastiff's good with children. They can be. But I do tell people, if you want a dog that your children can roll around in the floor with, get a collie. Do not get a bull mastiff. That's not what they do. So let's go back to, I got an email today. Someone has almost a 2-year-old, practically 2-year-old in next month. Bull Mastiff was laying in the floor, and the 12-year-old comes up and gets partially on the Bull Mastiff, and the Bull Mastiff turns and bit the child in the face. Now, it didn't break the skin, but the Bull Mastiff is saying, get off me. And so the question that the lady posed was, is this in your lines that the dog would do this? So, take it from there.
There's a lot of things to unpack in there, and I'll try not to get off on
but we
rabbit
do get
trail.
off on rabbit trails,
Yeah.
because they're important sometimes.
Yeah. So we can put a lot of things into context, because we don't know all of the context. We don't know if the dog was asleep on the floor. If the dog was so asleep that it was, snoring, or were we in a deep sleep on the floor? Some of these things, while not excusing a behavior, the type of response can be dictated. It's just like you. If you're in a deep sleep and somebody comes running into your room screaming, are you going to wake up and, oh, what's going on? Or are you going to throw yourself up out of bed? What's going on? Okay? So, but every animal is going to have its own individual response. Now, there are some dogs of any breed that are just so affectionate and so loving and so laid back that, the world could be falling around and they're just gonna not have a big response. But that's not the majority of dogs. And dogs need to have a bit of personal space respect. Okay? Now, I, as the alpha of my pack, demand that they be submissive to me in all forms. They will go down on the floor. They will give me their belly. They can be chewing on the most delicious morsel or bone or bully stick or anything, and I can ask them to relinquish it to me, and they darn sure will, and they'll do it right now.
Yes, absolutely.
Without any vocalization,
Right.
no protest whatsoever. Because I, as the alpha, everything is mine first.
And I love that.
Is mine first. And then usually if I take something from them as an exercise, I'm going to give it back to them, because then I'm reinforcing that, thank you, but you can have it back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I do believe that any of my dogs, I think, would relinquish something to pretty much anybody in general.
Because you practiced with it.
Right, because it's been an expectation
And
from me.
That's true, but in your psychology training of this, she either gives it back, so they anticipate that, oh, mom's going to give it right back, or something better.
Right.
And we do train that too. If you reach into their bowl and take their food away, then give them a piece of raw meat. Give them something better. And so, but go back, and I don't want to lose my train of thought, but I was going to show you something with these two dogs. The dog is asleep.
Right.
The child runs up beside it, is partially on it. The dog turns and defends itself.
Right. And that, okay, so I did start to say we need to have respect for our dog's personal space. And especially, so this dog being 2 years old obviously is reaching sexual maturity, and there is a difference then in how they process things, because so it's just like a child and then becoming a teenager. Who in a human household, when do the buttons start getting pushed and pushed harder?
Teenage.
You've got your toddlers that are gonna maybe have meltdowns and things, but who starts to act potentially with disrespect?
Teenagers.
The teenagers. Who, so as they start to hit sexual maturity, that is when you have the potential to start seeing a mind shift in our animals, because their thought process is different.
Yes.
And that is the age when the challenge behavior could start arising. Now, if you've already established where you're at, obviously, and you're a good, strong leader, they aren't going to push that boundary because they're comfortable and confident in you.
But here's the thing.
But a child is not.
That's right. And 12-year-old is not brave enough, strong enough, fast enough, and smart enough to defend the entire pack.
Mm-hmm.
And that dog knows it, and
Right.
you're not going to fool him.
Right.
So on that, I just grabbed out some hamburger meat. Ooh, did I swap that on you?
No, just a little bit, but you might have.
Okay, so you may have to bring this over for them to see it. This is a piece of raw hamburger. This is taffy. So, as you can see, I can put this in her mouth. Come. And I can get it out. This is Goody. So, over here, I can put my hand in her mouth. And I can take it out. So that, she can taste that. It's in her mouth. So, if your dogs won't do that, they don't respect you as the pack leader. So that's just a good little, your dog should respect you that much. And I love the way Aaron coined that phrase for me. First, it is yours first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we are the providers.
Exactly.
And I read somebody read, I read something recently, and it was very well said. And they said, when you are establishing yourself as the alpha eats first. Okay, so we want to take good care of our animals, obviously, right? We treat them well. We meet
Emotionally.
them, their
Right.
needs,
Right.
their physical, their emotional.
Right.
We meet their needs. However, going back to pack structure,
The alpha does eat first.
the alpha eats first. The alpha eats its fill.
That's right.
And what is left is then divided.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess I don't want to dive in too deeply, but it really is encompassed into saying that everything is mine first. The couch is mine, it's not yours. The bed is mine, it's not yours. I personally at home, my dogs do not go on my furniture.
No.
Number one, my husband and I, we ranch, and so if you know anything about ranching, farming, life
all the time.
Life is dirty. Life is dirty,
You
and
work all the time.
so I don't need added dirtiness in my life by having the dogs on the furniture. Now, I spend a lot of time on the floor with my dogs because that is where I give them their time and they're in my space. So I sit on the floor and they all get their time on my lap, and I start that as a baby, and I do that with all of my adults. So, but when we relinquish those spaces to the dogs, all you're doing is raising them a little bit higher and a little bit higher on their expectations within the pack. So I am not for people letting their dogs sleep with them, or letting the dogs sleep with the children.
No. It's a bad no.
It's a bad habit and a bad expectation for the dogs to get into.
The dog will kick you out of your bed and steal your pillow.
Yeah.
They like to put their head on a pillow, and you probably have the best pillow in the house.
That's right.
And Taffy will take, because she knows she's not allowed on the couch, so she'll get a pillow off the couch, and I'll find her in here sleeping with her head on the pillow. Now, she has cushy beds all over the house, but she wants my
it's a
pillow.
nice pillow.
Right.
Well, and it smells like you.
It
so,
does.
So that is, they are drawn to doing that. But that is a really big weak link to allow
Yes.
a big change.
Yeah. And the dogs being on the couch are eye level with the children. And so here is this huge thing that I'm trying to get across to people. If your puppy takes your children as their siblings, dogs bite each other and they think nothing of it. They get in a fight.
Look at any of our dogs' forearms. I mean, all of our dogs have
some
scars and scabs because that's part of how they play.
It is.
And they play rough.
They do play rough. So it is not okay. That's why I say a child under 10 or 12 should not even really be interacting with the puppy. And people are like shocked because they have this delusional idea, this fairy tale Disneyland idea that this is going to all manifest into some perfect for happy forever after. It's not. It's work to raise a puppy, to set the boundaries, to keep the boundaries consistent. To be consistent. Don't let them on the couch one day and tell them no the next day.
Right.
You hurt their feelings.
Right. And that's, so as an 8-week-old puppy, when you bring your puppies home, you have to keep in your mind, what do I want from them? What is acceptable behavior for them when they weigh 130 pounds? Because right now they're only 20. And I can sit in my rocking chair and the recliner.
And they will get in your
and they love that.
And 120 pounds.
Right.
They will.
But it's easy for us because I want to snuggle my puppy, and I want to be comfortable, so I'm comfortable in my chair and they're comfortable right
They're
here.
very comfortable. They're very comfortable right there.
But so if you don't want to have your dog expecting to be up in your space at the kitchen table, up on the furniture, don't do that when they're 8 weeks old. Sure. Don't do that when they're 3 months old. Don't do that when they're 6 months old.
Sure.
Okay? Now, maybe by the time you have a geriatric dog, there's certain things that you will allow for your old dog to get by with, but don't start that as a puppy. Absolutely don't, because it's really hard to change that expectation.
It is.
When this is what they've known ever since they've come to your
Yes.
home. Ever since I've become part of the family, this is what we did.
Right.
You
And,
know.
and it's not wrong if we're telling you get the dog out of your bed. So let me just give you another example. A sweet younger couple that had a couple of Bullmastiffs got Finny and actually Malachi and Legacy and Dippy's sister. So they're calling me now. The dogs are 3 in December. That she's arguing with the other dogs over their attention and growling at the children, and I'm horrified. And so I said, "Does that dog sleep in bed with you?" And yes, it did. And I said, "Yeah, I didn't feel like getting a switch and coming out there and switching you." I said, "You get that dog out of your bed." And so the last time I talked to them, they said they had the dog out of the bed. But now, when someone brings me a horse to train, it's usually a wreck by the time they bring it to me. I would rather have a Mustang off the range as a horse that's learned all these horrible things from people that have done not the right thing at the right time with this horse. So the retraining is possible. It's just more of a challenge.
Yes, and it takes way more diligence.
And way more consistency. They know you are not going to lie to your dog. They know if you're being consistent and fair. They know.
Right.
So I'll tell you another. I got a lot of stories. About the pre-adolescent and young adolescent children being over familiar and in the dog's space and in the dog's face. We do not recommend this. So this was Layla's brother. So Layla's been retired. Layla and Giggle's been retired a long time. Sweet, precious family. The dog was chewing on a bone, laying, chewing. The 12-year-old comes running in and slides down beside him. And he did not bite her, but he went like this.
To protect the
To
bone.
protect the bone, which is a very natural thing for him. And he accidentally caught her with that left fang, and it detached the bottom of her nose. And he never bit down. So all of that could have been avoided if this child would not have been
over exuberant in the approach.
But not only even that, disrespecting the dog's space and the dog. So let me tell you another dog bite story. So don't think Bullmastiffs won't bite you. This they will. I had, if I'm getting my ages right, 6 and 8 year old young, and this was an intact. He wasn't quite 2 yet. They brought a toy. I think it was a Kong toy. So the 8-year-old is in front of the dog. Don't you want it? Don't you want it? Don't you want it? And the dog's going, I don't want it. And they may have had treats in it. I don't know. Don't you want it? Don't you want it? Don't you want it? I want it. I want it. I want it. So the 6-year-old comes up beside the dog, puts his arm around the dog's head to give it some love. Well, he's already agitated because he's being teased.
Right.
And he spins and he's defending the toy he's about to get. And yes, he did bite the child in the face. And yes, the child did have stitches, and they sent the dog back to me. And all of that could have been avoided. Do not tease your Bullmastiff. Do not offer them something that you're not willing to give them.
Right.
That's teasing.
Right.
So that's why we say do not play tug of war with your Bullmastiff. Do not tease your Bullmastiff. We need to play obedience games.
Yeah, everything that we do with these dogs, because from the beginning it's all about building the relationship.
Absolutely.
And the relationship being about trust and if their job is to guard us when we need it, we have to be creating within them the sense of security and ability, right? And communication.
And stability.
Right,
If
right.
you're-
Mental stability.
If you're not stable and you're wild and crazy and fighting with your spouse and screaming at your children, you're not creating a stable environment for your dog.
No. anything that you do with them when you're playing games or training or anything, you need to make it so that you are both winning at the same
Yes.
goal.
That's so good.
And so tug of war, for example, is the best example, because it's a game, right? And you're having fun and they're having fun. Tug, 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 tug. But when does it end?
Somebody wins and somebody loses.
Somebody has to let go or fall over, fall down, whatever. Somebody's a loser.
Somebody's a loser. And when they're
And
130,
not be you.
when they're 130 pounds, they will make sure it's you. Because I've seen people do this. So that brings me to another story. And if these people are watching, I cry with you. They had a young male from me. And this male was a very intense male. It was a very intense male. And this is a sad story. Get your Kleenex out. Everything I told them, don't let him in your bed. Don't play tug of war. Don't do these things. They did, all of them. And they admitted in the end that they had done all of these things incorrect. We had to put the dog down. He bit, unprovoked, the wife 3 times. And the last time he bit her through the hand, I said, that is it. And we had neutered him. And we put him down.
Yeah.
And we all cried because they didn't have children and they loved this dog like a child.
And so that is the thing, the things that we do or don't teach them, they have long-term repercussions.
Long-term repercussions.
And, the things that you think that you're doing out of love could be causing a short end
to their life.
And that is a prime example. They thought they were loving the dog by cuddling on it and sleeping in the bed with it. And, and what a tragic story.
It was tragic. And I worked with this dog trying to get him to give. Well, by the time he was 1.5 years old, and we neutered him too, and he would not give to me. He's like, I am.
And a 130-pound dog is way stronger and tougher than a 130-pound person. The muscle strength that they have, it's tremendous. And so that's a tough
Something to think.
That's a
it
tough
was tough.
to
We squalled our eyes out. Anyway, now they have a dog that they've done everything right with, and it's been very good. He's been beautiful. He's probably 6 or 7 now. So this was a long time ago, but still, we are trying to impart some really
practical,
good to help you. And being alpha doesn't mean get your stick and beat your dog.
No, it doesn't mean that you're mean to your dog.
No. And I have on the webpage McCain, I think is the name of it, McCain Training, and of course she trains all different breeds, but she has this one, what does being alpha really mean? And I love, there's wonderful videos out there. Avail yourself of them, some of these good training videos. So what alpha means and what it doesn't mean. That's why when people say, I'm going to send my bull mastiff out to a trainer, I beg them, don't do that.
Well, don't do it by themselves. I mean, if you send your dog to go get trained,
go with him.
You need to go with
them.
You have
to be with
because them. Just because the dog learns to respect these other people and obey their commands and the laws that they're laying down, the dogs are learning those commands, but that doesn't mean that they are just going to associate all of those things to you and willingly do those things to you, because you're still not
down here in the pack and you don't even know it.
Yeah. So,
and the other problem that I have seen, especially with young intact males, if you send them out and they use a shock collar on them and they're getting shocked and they don't realize that they have done something wrong,
does it make them angry?
It can make them unstable because they believe that they're experiencing repercussions for something they did not realize that they had done incorrectly. And I had a young male that I babysat for several months, and he had just come back from this training, and he stabilized with me because he knew I will fight to the death for you. I will protect you. I am here for you. I am your human and I love you. And so then he loved me that way, but he was on the brink of being unstable. Mm-hmm. And you do not want an unstable bull mastiff. No. And there was, they will obey you because they love you. They will defend you because they're part of the pack, mm-hmm. part of your stable pack. Mm-hmm. And so never send your bull mastiff out.
Right. I'd like to expand just a little bit on the mental stability thing.
Okay.
And this goes back to puppy age stuff. You know, the more things, and I know that you've talked about this also in various times, but the more things that we can expose them to,
yes.
visually, audibly, young, it just broadens their horizons. It's kind of like me, who's a country girl. The thought of me traveling to Europe, you know, I can't tell you like how intimidating like that even sounds. That doesn't even, there's no appeal in that process, even for me, because of all of the unknowns, okay? So it stands for reason that if you take we'll just say a 2-year-old bull mastiff to the city, a brand new experience that's completely outside of anything they've ever experienced. For example, okay, so if you only ever just have them in your home, mm-hmm. and in a 6-foot privacy fence, mm-hmm. if that's all that they've known from the time that they're 8 weeks old, mm-hmm. how do you think that they can process mm-hmm. All of these things that all of a sudden they're seeing? Mm-hmm. You know, it's kind of like say a child who's been abused and kept in a closet. I mean, it's a very mm-hmm. Comparable thing. Whereas if you take them out as a puppy while they're fun and they're mm-hmm. excited and they mm-hmm. absorb things like a sponge, mm-hmm. they learn coping skills. Something can be uncomfortable, but when they trust you and you're there with them, mm-hmm. and you can give them a little bit of comfort, but don't be picking them up, but to give them this kind mm-hmm. of comfort. It's comfort of reassurance, saying, it's all right, we're here, we're doing mm-hmm. this together. Mm-hmm. It's okay for them to be uncomfortable and have to just be patient and work through something because they learn how to process it. Mm-hmm. But the more of those things that you can do while they weigh 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 yes. pounds, you know, yes. the coping skills that they learn on just how to process it and understands that, gosh, it's new, but it's not a problem. Gosh, never seen that before, but Mom says it's okay. We're fine. And so also building that rapport with them, because they're learning your body language too.
Yes.
And so if they've never left home and you take them to a new scenario,
dog show,
sure. And if you're nervous about this dog show, then they don't know what to do with all of this. And so they can either become like a major fraidy cat mess, mm-hmm. where they either want to leave or they mm-hmm. cower on the floor, mm-hmm. Or they will become defensive to protect you and your discomfort.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, themselves, because they don't know that person who's reaching over top of them. Mm-hmm. You know, dog shows are a whole new
venue, which are probably not going to be
thing. But people who come up to you, say at a pet store or something, and want to come and hug your dog.
Just don't say no.
That's you know, that's okay. A really great way for a bad situation to happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, so take your dogs out, your babies out, take them out so that they can learn new things. And I say this to people. I don't tease my dogs.
No, don't tease my dogs.
I tease with my dogs at home. At home, we are a jovial family. So there is a lot of laughter and happy, joyous sounds, okay? So if I play a game with my dogs, you know, and I incorporate in that my normal happy sounds, whether I giggle, I laugh, I do whatever, then if we're in a scenario where I can read my dog is uncomfortable with what's going on, I can speak their name and give them their pat, and I can giggle or I can chuckle or laugh, something that falls in my normal happy sound. And they recognize that as an affirmation that everything's okay because mom's relaxed and happy. And that's a very simple clue to just be able to communicate with them. They read our body language. They know our sounds.
They know.
If mama raises her voice, it doesn't matter what they're doing. They're going to stop and look. What's got mom upset? Okay, she's not looking at me, so I'm okay. So those are just things that's really important when we are expecting things from our dogs. We have to equip our dogs to meet those expectations.
Yes, and it's unfair. And I was just thinking of a story of a beautiful friend of mine. She's 10 years older than me, has 2 artificial knees, and still rides horses weekly.
Wow.
Weekly. And she knew better with this last Bullmastiff she got from me not to wait till he was 6 or 8 months old before she took him to Walmart. But she did, and he totally flipped out. He's dragging her. It was not good. Mm-hmm. And she realized, hey, I should have been doing this.
Right. And time gets past.
16 weeks, not 6 months. It does.
Time goes so fast, and you have to be intentional and diligent.
At least 3 times a week. Get them to Tractor Supply. Mm-hmm. Get them somewhere safe, and make sure that they have a good experience. Like I took Buddy one time to one Ursuline's Atwood's, and I had this lady get behind me with a cart, and she was pushing against us, and Buddy thought she was going to run over her, and I should have just got against the wall and told the lady, please. But instead, she kept pushing on us until, I don't remember if Bunny hit the grill. It was a grill. It was Atwood's, and there was all these grills lined up, and it turned into this horrible situation. So instead of my dog having a good, I had her sister Rita, and I should not have had 2 young at the same time. So instead of being a good experience, she had a terrible experience, and she hated going to town after that. Mm-hmm. So make sure they don't try to do 2 at once, and make sure that you have a good experience. And there are going to be times that you're going to have to, when I go to the park, I usually carry a stick. So when dogs run up to us, I do not let dogs run up to my puppy and demand that they submit. If you let another dog run up to your puppy, and your puppy feels like they have to defend themselves, they look at you like you're some worthless pack leader. You're not even going to protect me. Because understand this, a puppy knows an adult dog can kill it. Mm-hmm. And if an adult dog runs up to a puppy and your puppy squats and pees, your puppy said, please don't kill me, I'm at your mercy. Mm-hmm. And my human is worthless. Mm-hmm. And so when they get to be an adult, they may have defensive, aggressive tendencies because they know you're worthless. You're not going to protect them. Mm-hmm. So that's a big peeve. Aaron's 2 hours from town. I'm 45 minutes. It used to be 20 minutes. When I take my puppies into public, I do not let other dogs run up to my puppies. Mm-hmm. I stand between them. I will defend them. And they look at me like, oh, my mom, she got this. Mm-hmm. Mom's got this. Mm-hmm. And that's important. Right. You need to protect your puppy.
And that, I had the blessing of bringing an adult female into my pack.
That's true.
And, that was a big thing because I didn't know what to anticipate. Like I said, we all cohabitate in the house. I don't have kennels. I don't have runs. So this was going to be a big change, bringing in an adult bitch into all of my adult bitches and adult males. And, so we were ready to make some changes if we needed to, but I didn't want to have to do that. But we very quickly established where she fit in the pack, and she knew that I was going to protect her because yes. I did, in introducing her with my other dogs, we took it slow, and so we made it so that they were comfortable and everything was controlled. And so there was never a point in her mind that ever arose that she wondered if I was on her side.
Exactly. That's it.
And anyways, so when your dog has that kind of trust in you, whether it's a puppy, whether it's an adult that you've brought in as a rescue or a retirement situation, those parts of the relationship are really important. And once you establish that that security factor in your dog's mind, it's all gonna be easy.
Right.
Past that.
Right. If they know, they can look. And so in the wild, the reason that we're saying fair, firm, and consistent is that that is the way. They don't randomly attack each other. The survival of the pack is to procreate is, if they didn't have this, they would be extinct. So there are hard wired written things on these dogs when they're born, and you're not going to change it. And this is one thing, and I do really like Caesar Milan, so if you want to hate on him, don't hate on him in front of me. I think he's really helped the dog community. Don't make a human out of your dog.
Right.
You will be disappointed. And it's not fair to the dog. I don't care how much you love the dog. I'm not saying dogs don't have spirits and they don't have souls, and yes, they do go to heaven. But they are not human. Don't try to make them human, because you're going to put something on them they cannot live up to and fulfill.
Their reasoning is not our reasoning.
Exactly.
They don't do things to be polite. They do
exactly.
They do things to survive.
To survive.
And for
in
their
the pack.
comfort and
Right.
for their preference, you know. But when we do everything so that, you know, back to that training and what we're doing, you know, when I was showing you if a dog's going to jump on you, how you make that be uncomfortable for them. Okay, so the flip side is true. When you want to establish walking on a leash or whatever, you need to make it so that when they are doing the correct thing, that is when they are the most comfortable. So walking on a leash, for example, if you always just let them be pulling on you and so you're walking and keeping up with them, and they've always got this pressure on their leash, right?
Your shoulder and your back and your groin.
So when you always are just allowing that to be what's going on, they become desensitized to the fact that that's uncomfortable. And they're going to get to where they don't care because that's just what's normal.
Yeah, that's normal.
So when you establish that life is comfortable when they're walking with you, beside you, or, you know, at a certain place, that's what they're going to do, because life is good and comfortable right here. Life is uncomfortable on the couch because mama spanks me, or, you know, whatever. But
squirts me.
But life is comfortable when I do this. Life is uncomfortable when I do this. You know, put that into perspective for yourself when you are doing things with your dog and having that expectation. And you know, you have to establish thought process and expectation in your mind of what's okay and what's not okay. Some things that are okay in one person's home, it's not acceptable in another person's home. You know, if you don't want them in your kitchen because you don't want to either step over them or, you know, whatever. That picture is different for everybody. And so when they're a puppy, or, you know, when you first welcome them into your home, that is when you start setting the expectations. So I really do recommend, when you're getting your new puppy or your new adopted dog, make yourself sit down and establish in your mind the things that are okay when they weigh 130 pounds and the things that aren't okay. And then if everybody in the family is on the same page, and maybe you need to like tape it up on the wall or put it on the refrigerator for a while to help everybody remember that, oh, we were going to let this happen, but we weren't going to let this happen. Then that's where that fair, firm, and consistent part, you know, can be played in. So
we have 60 seconds.
Until we've been here for an hour already.
We have been here for an hour.
And we wonder why our days go so fast when we get to each other.
We love visiting with you people. We love visiting with you people. We love you people, and we want you to have success with your puppies. And I may break this into, okay, you have 30 seconds.
I just want to encourage everybody to be the best partner for your dogs. Expect the best things from your dogs. to provide a lot of years of positive enjoyment from both sides.
Set them up for success.
Definitely.
Not
I
for failure.
love that. I love that.
Set them up because we do love them. I'm going to do another video and I'm going to prove to you why dogs have souls.